G'day guys, welcome back to SuperCoach with DR and welcome to the round 6 stock market video. Where as usual, I'll take you through all the relevant players' break-evens, look at those players to keep on the watch list, some of those best buys, look at some pods, and also look at those players that we may need to move on for one reason or another. But last week we saw some players make a mockery of their break-even, such as Jordan Ridley. He's continued to do so over the past 3 to 4 weeks now. But we also saw some of those other players come back down to earth a little bit, such as Braden Maynard and Dan Butler as well. But I think the biggest talking point to come out of the week was some of the bubble boys. We had a few on our hands that are coming up this week that are all going to rise in price. So I will pay some closer attention to those blokes. And when I get to them, I might do a quick little rookie review on each of the relevant ones that are coming up this week. So as usual, we'll start off with the defenders 500k plus. Up the top there, we've got Callum Mills. I didn't see this coming, to be honest. Remy Carl saw it last week. Shout out to you, mate. He was on him before his massive score last week. A break-even of 19 with an average of 110. If you're looking for a premium pod at the best value, then he's your man this week, Callum Mills. Jordan Ridley, I can't believe this, but he's still a good buy. I've said it for the last 3 to 4 weeks. Buy him now, buy him now. He's at 503,000 now, so he's hit the 500 mark. But if you look at that average compared to his break-even, there is still some value there if you haven't got him in your side yet. Nick Haynes, hasn't he been just a wonderful pick? If you started with this bloke, geez, you'd be ahead of the pack there in the defensive line, I think. An average of 114 with a break-even of 67. You are paying a lot more for him now. If you had got onto him a couple of weeks ago, like George did, then you'd be laughing at the moment. What a great pick. The Seagull Lloyd, I'll always have the binoculars on him. I say this every week. I'm really just repeating myself with Lloyd, but when the time is right, when the price is right, hopefully I can jump on him because I want to finish with him in my side. How you shouldn't have any more. I should just really take him off the stock market now. Maynard, well, he fell back down to earth, didn't he? After 5 was it really solid scores of 100 plus. Look, we can probably forgive him for one bad score. I hope it's not a trend for Maynard owners, but he's someone that I've just, even though he scored well, never had great confidence in, just because of that lack of scoring history, I think. Sicily, the roller coaster's on him, obviously. I don't need to explain why, but look, it's funny. You look at the game that he played on the weekend and you think to yourself, how on earth does this bloke score something in the 40s? But back to his best, but he will be a roller coaster. You will see some of those poorer scores throughout the season, unfortunately. Saad, there's much better value, I think. Same as Daniel, a great pick, but if you look at that break even, 132, look, it's almost achievable. He hasn't got the highest ceiling, Daniel, but he should go pretty close to that 100 every week. Hooley, we need to sell, get him out, I think. And Doherty, isn't it amazing what can happen in a couple of weeks? So he goes scoring, what was it, a 170 to a 180. Think, wow, he's going to reach 600, 650k. And then, yeah, we see this break even of 196 after a couple of really poor rounds. But don't get worried too much. I think that the opposition teams are just putting a little bit more attention into Doherty, but hopefully his teammates can help him out a little bit. On to the mid-price defenders. Well, I've got this man in my side up the top, Tom Duday. He's had 2 really solid weeks. Now he finds himself with an average of 84 and a break-even of only 1. So here's my buy it now for the mid-price defenders. If you're looking for a little bit of value and don't want to get one of those premiums in, if you haven't got the money for someone like a Haynes or, a Lloyd or one of these blokes, and I think Duday is a really good buy. Keep in mind, though, he has put a couple of stinkers in, a 40 and a 50 odd, so you need to be prepared to be disappointed on the occasional week, but he's rewarded me with a couple of really nice hundreds and has been a nice pod for me the last couple of weeks. Talk about a nice pod, Callum Wilkie. This guy's really impressed me from St Kilda, so he's got an average of 90. You look at those blokes on the previous page, and most of those guys are averaging around that 100. So I'm not overly keen on bringing in too many guys that are averaging around the 90 mark. I'd much rather wait for one of these guys to fall from the top. But if you're looking for someone different, he's got a break-even of only 24. And I think that average can go up a little bit. He's got a pretty friendly roll down there, and I really rate him as a player, Cal Wilkie. Grant Birchall, you can see a new symbol there, the trap. Don't buy this bloke. He's got an average of 69 with a break-even of 37. Someone like a Stephen Hill, who I've got on my side, hasn't that exact average of 69, but he's only costing about 250 odd. I'm not saying to buy Hill, but that's just a comparison, to someone that's scoring very similar to what Birchall is. So don't go near there. Some people might see the name Birchall. He's been a champion in the past with a low break even, but that's just a trap. Houston, I don't even want to talk about. Jeez, yeah, it frustrates me, this bloke. On to McGovern. Now, I've got McGovern and more there. I've got McGovern as a bit of a pod, more just on the watch list. Now, why have I got these blokes there? They haven't really done much during the season, have they? But intercept defenders, they're all the rage this year. So, McGovern, look, I owned him a couple of years ago, and he was a roller coaster, a really frustrating pick. He'd give you a heap of average scores and bust out a couple of really, really massive scores. But keep your eye on him just to see how he scores. If he's looking to boost those scores up, looking to get back to some really solid form, intercepting the ball, then he could be a buy that we could look to get into the side at some stage. Same as Darcy Moore. Is he taking on more of that Jeremy Howe role? I'm not a Collingwood expert. If there's any Collingwood supporters out there that knows a little bit more about Moore's role, please leave a comment down there in the section, because I'd love to hear more about Moore. Just the eye test, he just looked really good to me, Moore. But just keep the binoculars on him. I'm certainly not saying trade him in, but just keep a watch on him. Same as Luke Ryan. I just rate him as a pick. I think he's a good player. And Jaden Shorts, he's another bloke that I was looking to get him when I got Duday in. So it was Duday, Ridley or Short. I went with Duday, then I got Ridley in. So Short, I think he's still a pretty decent buy. I said that I wasn't looking at too many plays that were averaging under that 100, but he's probably the only exception that I may make, I think. And Smith hit some form on the weekend, which is great for his owners as well. More mid-prices. Brad Shepherd, didn't do much on the weekend, which is a bloke that I liked as a bit of a pod last week. I go all the way down to the bottom there. Zach Williams, got the binoculars on him. I'm not actually sure when he returns. I'll need to look at the injury list. And Shannon Hearn as well. Geez, after the first week, you would have been patting yourself on the back, but I've always had concerns about this bloke. I did not like this guy from the start of the season, and I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to pick him up, at around 400k. So, look, that may even tempt me at 400k, even though I don't rate the pick. Geez, it's cheap for a Shannon Hearn type. So, he's certainly on my watch list, but that high break even is not good for owners. Would I sell him? Oh, look. Maybe would you get into a short? Yeah, it's tough. Look, I didn't pick him for a reason. So, owners, you'll have to make your own decision there. I don't like him as a pick, but yeah, you've lost out a bit of money. Do you ride it out? I'm not too sure. And on to the defenders, 300k and under. The man up the top there, Will Day, geez, didn't he play well? He's actually built like me. For anyone that doesn't know me, I'm built like a stick. Not the biggest man that you'll ever meet. But, geez, didn't he play well? A break-even of -30. Spills was on this bloke. Well done, Spills. Got him a week early, which was really brave, but he needed someone down there in the back line. He decided to go Will Day. Good on you, mate. Great stuff. The other guy I've got there is Andrew McPherson at 123,900. He got 76, so Day obviously scored higher with the 92 there. But if you compare their price, you're paying 30 grand more for Day. And if you look at the break-even, there, -30 and -27. I'll talk about a couple more blokes, then I'll go into a little bit more depth with the top two selections there. Lewis Butler, he came back for his second game, but I've got the job security icon on him there. I'm not too sure. He played that first game, was out the week after, came back in, so I'm not too sure if he stays in or if he doesn't. But yeah, look, if we were more certain on his role, it wouldn't be the worst pick because he's got that DPP status that can use with a Stephen Hill or someone like a Brander, but I wouldn't be looking to go there at all. You'd go a Day or McPherson for sure. Rivers, got the job security on him as well. He's obviously been out of the side. Really concerned about him, obviously. Does he come back in? Really not too sure. Fisher there, got the binoculars on him. If you look at that average and break even, it's equal now, 41-41. He's been a disappointing pick. May look to chop him, but you haven't made too much money. It's probably worth just holding on to him and hoping for a big score, I suppose. Hayden Young, we got to chop him, I think, after his injury on the weekend. Certainly on the chopping block. And Starcevic as well. You look at that break-even, 93. Look, he's got the potential to go, a 70 to an 80. But if you can, it'd probably be an ideal time to trade him out to one of the blokes I've got there up the top in Day or McPherson. for me, geez, yeah, I really do want to trade him, and I probably should. Yeah, I'll just need to see team announcements. I may just need a warm body there. And when we get to a couple of the bubble boys that are in the midfield and the forward line, I like them a little bit better than the two defenders we've got up the top here. But speaking of Will Day and Andrew McPherson, sorry, let's have a look at them a little bit more closely. So Will Day, he's a defender, 153,300, scored 92 on the weekend. What do I like about him? Well, he's athletic, and as a junior, he played as a rebounding defender and an intercept defender. So he can play both roles down there in defence. He's 187 centimetres, so he can play on the smalls and he can play on the talls. And he's also got good skills on both sides of his body. What are the cons? Well, you can probably tell from his picture there, got a very light frame. So with these, 4-day breaks in between games, and that's a real possibility we've been told, he'll probably need to rest his body. And some of those knocks that he'll get, it may take him a little bit longer to get over those than those guys that have a more mature body than him. Job security, I'm not too sure about that. I'll have to speak with Spills. He knows a little bit more about Day than I do. And as we said, he's a little bit more expensive at 153,000. If you're looking for a cheaper defender and maybe someone with potentially better job security, then McPherson could be a man. So when I say up the top there, the Crows should play the kids, he's not actually a kid because he does have a mature body. You can see his arms there, and compare his body size compared to someone like a Will Day. That makes a big difference, I think, at senior level football. But he's got solid disposal efficiency as well. Scored well last round with that 76, and he comes with a cheaper price tag than Day, as we just talked about. What are his cons? Well, it's his durability and his injury history. It's a really big concern because the last full season of football he played was all the way back in 2016, I've heard. I haven't actually researched and looked really deeply into what those injuries actually were. I might actually do that over the next couple of days, but certainly keep that in mind. And it's probably something small, but it's just probably a lack of leadership around him at the moment there at the Crows. They're not travelling too well. It doesn't look like the players are in a really positive frame of mind, and some of the senior players are really struggling there at the moment. So that's a negative in regards to leadership around him and, role models in the side. But it is a positive, as I said, because those players are down in form. Hopefully they'll look to other players that haven't been getting a game. Someone like an Andy McPherson may have some good job security. On to the premium midfielders now. You'll see the bloke there up the top, Tim Kelly. I've had the binoculars on him for the last 2 weeks, and that's because he had a really high break even, and now his price has come down to 500k. So only an average of 90, which isn't anything great, particularly for one of our premium midfielders. But you look at that break even, 75. If you truly believe that this bloke can hit form back in WA, then I think he could be a really, really sneaky buy. And if you think that he can average 110 from here for the rest of the season, then he'd be someone that I'd actually jump on if you believe that he's capable of doing that. Selwyn Danger tore the lines up on the weekend. It's as if someone spoke to them at half time and said, you know what, let's get your act together, boys. This is maybe one of the last chances we have this season of actually winning, a premiership with their ageing list. And these two blokes in particular came out and absolutely smashed us. But I've actually got Danger as the best buy this week. So why is that? Well, a break even of 92 isn't really, really low, but he's pushed that average up now of 108. Remember, he had a few terrible games to start off the season, but if you look at his last 3 weeks, look at the numbers, a couple of 140s, another 100 in there as well, which I thought he could have scored a little bit higher in that game anyway. That's why I think he's the best buy, and he's even becoming a vice-captain option for us at the moment. And anyone that took the gamble on him over Lachie Neale on the Thursday night, it would have been wrapped with that decision as well. So he's my best buy for this week. A few pods there. Tuke Miller, how many people would have him? Probably less than 1%, I'd imagine. But look at that average there. He's averaging more than, Dangerfield, Selwood, McRae even. Just amazing, what can happen in the season. But I wouldn't be touching him. I think there's safer options. It's a huge risk. But if you're looking for a pod, then Tuke Miller's there for you to pick. Darcy O'Connor got on Dylan Shield last week, or he asked me the question, why isn't anyone on this bloke? And it was a really good point that he made, because you look at that average, 114 with a break even of only 96. Unfortunately, he's rubbed out for a couple of weeks. At the time of recording, I'm not too sure what happened at the tribunal, but I think he's got a couple of weeks, so very unfortunate for the few owners that have him. Still, as another pod, Jono's man there. The other guy I've got there as a buy now is Jack McRae. Now, again, you're probably wondering, it's a bit of a funny buy now, DR, but you look at the break-even 110, it's higher than his average, but I think that he's coming into form. You look at his second half last week, and it was like the McRae of old. I think he had an 80-plus point second half, racked up the ball, so I think if you look there, 587, he's lost a fair bit of coin already. I paid up for this bloke at the start of the season. I don't think that is a bad buy if you're looking at a premium option this week. Trelaw, he's been really good in return, hasn't he? Look at that average of 121. What worries me about him is his durability. So I won't be going near Trelaw because of those hammies. But look, if you're looking for a pod, he's scoring really well at this stage, but durability, major concern. A little bit of the same with Jelly. Bit of durability concern there. For anyone that doesn't know, Jelly is obviously Josh Kelly. It just takes me ages to type up all these names. So when I can take shortcuts, I will, as you can see with Titch, obviously Tom Mitchell down the bottom there. But got the binoculars on Jelly and Titch there. Adams as a pod had a really good season up to date. Average of 113, but the break-even's 127. Wouldn't be looking to bring him in this week. Now the break-evens are getting higher and higher. So I've got binoculars on last 5 blokes down there. Clary, I'm really cooling on, to be honest, at the moment. I do have the binoculars on him, but I'm probably looking elsewhere to complete my midfield this year, I think. Boak and Clugger, both being good pods. Boak had a quieter game on the weekend. Cripper, 150. We've all got him if you haven't put him on your watch list. Pendles, I haven't got anything next to him. He's still a champion, Pendles, but I just wouldn't go near him for SuperCoach. Bont, the roller coaster. And the 5 blokes down the bottom there, if you haven't got these guys, certainly put them on your watch list. Look, 5 down the bottom, 218. In a few weeks, I'll be having a really close look at him. And the other bloke there is Mitch Duncan. So you'll be getting him, I'm assuming, at under 500k or very close to 500k, depending on what he scores when he comes back. I don't know exactly how long he's out for, but my long-term plans are to get him into my midfield. So I'm leaving a space for Mitch Duncan because at that price, it's almost too good to refuse, I think. And he's had a terrific season before he got injured on the weekend as well. Merritt, his break-even's gone right up, as is Gaff. And Gaff's had a really good season as well. I think he got locked down a little bit on the weekend, though, unfortunately for Gaff owners. But all those guys, keep on your watch list for sure. The mid-prices now, well, the best buy, I think, easily there is Elliot Yeo. You could argue Andrew McGrath there with a break-even of 59, average of 100, Neston have the extra gain coming up, but I just like Yeo's ceiling more. When he goes big, he can go really, really big, Elliot Yeo. We've talked about this all last week, that he's back in WA, hitting some form. So last week, lots of people jumped on him, but I think this week's even a better buy than last week. If you look at that break even, he'll go up a fair bit this week. If he gets 100, he'll be going up, close to 22, 23k. So I think he's the best buy this week. And McGrath, certainly put him on your watch list as well because he's a cheaper sort of an option. Look, if you're going to jump on him, you'd want to do it pretty soon, I think. You wouldn't want to leave it much longer because that price will rise. But he could be a sneaky little option, McGrath, because we may not be able to afford to get the Titches and these types of players due to their prices. Cogs, I don't know what's happened to him. Matty Rowell, as last week, got to sell. And big shout out to Jack Viney. I was going to say my man Jack Viney. I was hating this guy the week before last when he dropped to 60. But average of 109. I haven't reaped the benefit of that average because I got him in after that massive score. So the average that I've got him at is a lot less than 109. But with a break even of 102, fingers crossed, keeper. But yeah, still very questionable, I think, with Jackie. But weekend was absolutely fantastic from him. On to the rookie midfielders. So up the top, we've got Sam Simpson, 112 average, negative 63. The best buy by an absolute mile this week. I'll talk a little bit more about him in a minute. Mitch Hibberd, he's not a bad buy, but you'd certainly go Simpson over him. A little bit worried about his job security as well when players like Heppel come back. Philp and McInerney, also worried about their job security. I have the binoculars on Dylan Stephens, mainly just because he's a high draft pick. He is at a premium price, so we're probably not going to look to bring him into the side. Certainly not this week anyway. And I've got the sell on Tyler Brown because I don't think he'll be coming back into the Collingwood side in the next month. and his break-even's higher than his average. So, look, if he's not playing, you won't be losing cash, so you may prioritise a play that's actually going down in price. If Brown doesn't play, his price doesn't move, so you may just want to keep him on your bench as a cold body and maybe move someone else on that's got a high break-even and maybe playing this week. So let's take a bit of a closer look at Sam Simpson. He comes at 123,900, a terrific round 6 score of 112. What do I like about him? Well, he's got a mature body. He's a former VFL Best and Fairest winner, so they do rate him down there. He's got solid scoring at reserves level. Short-term job security is looking good with the omissions of, well, not the omissions, but the injuries to players like Duncan and Narkle, as I said before. And he can find the pill, as we saw. I think, from memory, he was the highest possession winner in the Geelong-Brisbane game. I think. I could be making it up, but I think that's correct. And the cons, well, he hasn't got great scoring history when he has played in the senior side. And I'm not too sure on his long-term job security. But look, if he plays well and continues to play like he did on the weekend, then he'll cement his own spot. He'll give the coach no choice but to play him each week. On to the Rucks now. Now, I'll make this really quick and simple. If you haven't got Max Gawn, get him into your side ASAP. I think he's a must-have. If you've got Gawn, you need to either pair him with Goldie or Grundy. I think it's as simple as that. So they're my three buy nows. You can see I've had King Pitney, Prince Pitney. He's now Pretender Pitney as he's been the last couple of weeks. That's probably a little bit harsh because he came into my side at an ideal time. He's made me a couple of $100,000 already. But I think it's time to chop him and look to get one of the big boys in because that break-even is getting closer to that average. So that's why I've got the binoculars and the axe on him because I think it's time to chop him for one of the three big boys ASAP because you're losing too many points not having them in your side. And Segler down there at the bottom, he's absolutely killing me at the moment. He's coming up against Gawn this week, so Gawn will monster him. He'll lose a heap of cash. So for me, he's basically going to be some pretty useless DPP ruck cover, I think, going into the future. But I did mention in my review video, after this week, he would have played the three big Gs there in Gawn, Goldie and Grundy. And I think the week after he plays Maxi, he comes up against the Swans, I think from memory. And they haven't got really a recognised ruckman going around playing there at the moment. So, not great at the moment, but fingers crossed it can turn out okay. On to the forwards, 500k plus. The man up the top there, Tom Hawkins, an average of 105, which has actually crept up on me, and a break-even of only 35. I think he's a trap. Why? Well, he's a key forward. He'll have those weeks where he may boot 6, give you 150 points, but I certainly think he'll have those weeks as well where he doesn't really go near the ball and give you 30s to 50s. So I wouldn't be going there myself. Huey Greenwood, been ultra impressed with this bloke. Average of 108 with a break-even of only 43. I think he's a buy it now. Same as Track, same as Simpkin. I think they're both buy nows. Not necessarily because of their break-evens, but just because of their form, and their break-evens are nothing crazy. So you look at Track with an 84, Simpkin with 101. They're both below their average. So with someone like a Simpkin, you're not getting a heap of value now, but I think you're getting what you pay for at 555. Walters, I'd love to have him in the side, but I won't be going near him at 572. I just think it's too much for a forward this year. On to the mid prices now. So the man up the top, this was a bloke that I said to get last week if you wanted a really, really nice pod. The reason being because we know that Richmond have been decimated with injuries. I thought Lambert was looking pretty good last week, starting to hit some form, and I think that was the case. I really like this pick. A break-even of only 1, price of 558,400. You probably should have got him last week if you did want to get him. That was my recommendation, but there's still a heap of value there this week. He's a real pod. We know that lots of people have got, your Petrarcas, wing guards, these sort of guys, Dusties, your Whitfields. So if you are looking to go a little bit different, then I would recommend that you take a close look at Kane Lambert. Andrew Brayshaw, look, I do have a buy it now purely because of the fact that his break-even's 11, his average is 97. We've seen 2 really good weeks. I want to see one more good week before I can give you a real thumbs up for a buy now. What's the problem with that? Well, he's going to be at probably 500k by then. So if you want to take a risk this week, if you're looking for a bit of a sneaky upgrade, you may look to get a Brayshaw, but he still worries me, that consistency. We've seen it for 2 weeks, as I said, but I'd like to see it for 3 to probably 4 weeks myself. Fort, I want to get him in earlier on the season, but that job security is always a concern. But yeah, he's been a great pick so far to anyone that's got him. Ben Long, I think you got to sell. I don't know exactly how long he's out for. I've heard it's probably going to be 3 to 4. So you're not going to want to keep Long for 3 to 4 on your bench. So get rid of him. And you may even want to downgrade to a ranking this week, for example, or go up to maybe a Whitfield. Whitfield, below there, he's the best buy, I think, of the lot. Lambert, I probably would have had the best buy, but I put the buy it now there. Whitfield, why have I put him as the best buy over Lambert? Well, looking at it now, I probably would have put Lambert as the best buy, but Whitfield, I was more thinking that he's just had premium numbers before. He's a pretty reliable sort of player, even though he's had some weird injuries in the last year or two. But look, at 455,000, some people paid 600k for this guy at the start of the year. If you want a forward, look at Lachie Whitfield for sure. And the man down the bottom there, Dev Smith. Been a few people talking about possibly trading out Smith, but I'm going to keep on to him for now. Look, that break-even 92, he's got 2 105s in his system the first couple of matches that he played, so that's certainly achievable, I think. Do I think that he'll get his break-even this week? I think he'll go pretty close, so I don't think he'll go up too much or go down too much either, Dev Smith. And to finish off the mid-price forwards, I've got Isaac Heaney, obviously, as a sell, so really unfortunate. He's out for the season. He's one of those blokes that if you had him after the start of round 1, you would have been absolutely wrapped. He's given you a couple of other nice scores as well, but yet with an average there of 94, it hasn't been an overly successful season. Certainly not a disaster, but you look at that price, 469. He certainly has lost money, but you've got no choice but to sell at the moment. Dusty, binoculars on him. Really not happy with him at the moment. If you traded him out this week, it may end up as an okay move. I certainly wouldn't look to do it. I'm not going there. But I wouldn't blame people for getting frustrated with him and maybe looking to jump ship before he goes down south in a big way. But we know Dusty could bounce back with a 120 very, very easily, and then you'd be kicking yourself probably for trading him out. Bailey Smith, or Baz, George's man. Yeah, love this bloke. I'm actually looking to bring him in hopefully next week with Max Gawn, if I've got the cash. So double down for me this week, and then looking to get Smith and Gawn in next week. And the Chad did what Chad does at times. 173 break even. A little bit scary for owners. You know, he just didn't look interested on the weekend. I know that he didn't have many opportunities. He's obviously playing more forward than he was midfield. But yeah, I've never been a really huge fan of the Wingard pick all season. The numbers speak for themselves in most of the games when he's been playing through that midfield, but yeah, he does worry me a little bit at the moment. I wouldn't be selling him, I don't think. If you've got him, probably keep on to him, but does have a high break even, and maybe if you're looking to bring maybe an F4 to an F6 in, then you could look at him in a couple of weeks. Onto the forwards under 300k. The man up the top there, Isaac Rankin, 123,900. Look at that break even, negative 62. He's the best buy by an absolute country mile. Look, if you're, and I'll talk about him in a minute with a quick rookie review. And if you're really desperate and you've already got Rankin in the side, for example, and you really need to bring a cheap forward in, you could look at Arts, but he's 148, already gone up a little bit. Really disappointing score on the weekend, which we can probably forgive him for in those conditions and just the type of game that it was. But if you're desperate, yes, but I certainly wouldn't be too keen to bring him in. And the two blokes I've got there, possibly on the chopping block down the bottom, where you got Butterick, who's got a break even of 54, which is 2 over his average. He'll be losing possibly a little bit of money, but it won't be too much either way, up or down. And Curtis Taylor there, after next week, I think we'll need to get rid of him for sure, because that big score will be out of his system and that break even will get a lot higher. But we've got probably one more week to make some money off him. But he may be someone that I'll be looking to trade out this week myself. So let's take a look at Isaac Rankin. The pros, well, there's a lot of him there. He's quick, he's agile, he's got elite skills, uncanny goal sense. If anyone watched that game on the weekend, I think it was his first goal where he snapped it round his right. He wasn't even facing the goals, but he just knew where they were. And it's not a fluke, because he's done it time and time again over his junior career. He uses class, heaps of X factor, and he doesn't need a heap of possessions either to impact the game, similar to someone like a Cyril. As I said, he's got elite junior numbers in the past, and he plays every week if fit. But the if, that's in capitals, and that's where we get to the cons. It's his durability and his injury history. This is his second year at the Suns, but obviously it was only his first game last week. And that wasn't because they didn't rate him, they didn't want him in the senior side. it's because he's been injured and just couldn't get his body right. So keep that in mind if you select him. And he also does play that small forward role. So even the best small forwards in the game find it hard to consistently score well each week. Most of them are a bit up and a little bit down. And the other thing is there's a potential for a lack of forward 50 entries at the Suns. I don't know how they're going to track in the middle part and the latter half of the season, but with Matty Rowell out now, yeah, it may be a little bit tougher for them having their superstar out, but I've still got faith in the Suns, don't get me wrong, but that's just something to think about also. So that'll finish us up for this week, guys. Look, as we said, there's a few good rookies that we can look to get in this week. It sort of depends on where you need these rookies, I suppose. If you need someone in the defensive line in place of a Starcich or a Noble type, then you'll look for either a Day or a McPherson. If you're looking to get someone out of your midfield, such as a Brown, maybe a McInerney, if you're not really keen on his job security, then you could look to get in a Simpson. And we know that there's a few guys in our forward lines that we can also trade out also, and I think Rankin is going to be a super popular pick this week. But remember, there are also some good upgrade options because there's some teams that started with Rankin, some teams that got him in last week, for example. I don't think too many teams would have got Simpson, for example, but I know that there are some teams that already have him in the side. So some teams will be going one up, one down. So remember to check out those fallen premiums and those players who have those low break-evens this week and are looking to go up in price in the next couple. So good luck this week anyway, guys. Thanks again for watching. Appreciate all the support, and I'll see you again soon in the next one. Take care. Bye.